What's up, everybody? Hey, everybody, what's up? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what part of the world that you are in. Listen, it's Dr. Chris here. I am beyond elated. I am beyond excited about today. This is a glorious day. Why? Because I've got my big bro that's going to be on here with me today. And I'm so excited because he really doesn't do things like this. So the fact that he is doing it, Jesus is coming tomorrow. So I no, I'm very excited. Listen, listen. Everybody that is on here, you need to tag, share, like. Normally, I'm just like, will you please? No, you need to tag, like, share all of this because your life is about to be rocked today. Okay, it is about to be bananas. I know it's Saturday. Listen to us while you're running and doing your shopping. Put it in your ear because you are going to need this. As usual, as I say, listen, if you have not registered for Trailblazers, it's coming up next month. KingdomLifeTrailblazers.com. I'm not going to spend a lot of time pushing it right now because I really I'm excited to get my big brother on. He is someone who I have known. Good Lord. For, let's see, well over 15 years. So yeah, it's been a minute since like 2008, 2009, I believe. So if not beforehand. No, it's beforehand actually. Yeah. So no, 2009. 2009, I've known him since 2009. He's been in my life, and every time he is one of these people where I never talk to him without either whipping out my phone to take notes or picking up my notebook and picking up a piece of paper and writing. You're going to need some paper. You're going to need a pen because he is going to literally drop some stuff that is going to shift your whole life. Okay. Hey, everybody. I see you. Hey, I see you, Eva. I see you, Yvonne. I see you, Jeff. Hey, India. How are you? It's going to be bananas today. All right. So y'all need to tag, share, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all of the things that you need to do tonight. Or today. So without any further ado, I am going to, and I spelled his name wrong. Y'all. I spelled his name wrong. But without any further ado, I'm going to bring up my big bro, the man of God, Micheal Drayton, Senior.
Senior, what's up, man?
Hey, bro, big bro.
What's up, Apostle? How are you doing?
I'm excited.
Good stuff,
I'm
man.
excited today because I know you are extremely busy.
Yeah.
And I know that you normally don't do things like this.
Nope.
So first off, the fact that you're even coming to Trailblazers is a thing.
Right.
So I'm excited about that. And I know that you're coming because you love your little bro.
Yeah.
And you support what we do. Hey, Evangelist James from Uganda. So I'm excited to have you on here. Y'all, this is Micheal Drayton, my big bro, a mentor really to me. I call him at times and about anything. And anytime I'm at his house, I'm one of those people that I'm just quiet when he talks. I listen and I pay very, very close attention to what he says, because if you apply what he says, your life will be bettered 1000%. Okay. So I'm not going to do a formal, that's my little intimate introduction, but
Right.
but big bro, go ahead and tell everybody who you are, where you're from, what you do, all of that great stuff.
All right. First of all, good. I think it's afternoon or morning, depending on where you are.
Right.
And to my brother Chris and his beautiful wife, who I love your wife. Right. I am honored and humbled to be here with you this morning. And I'm not saying that in just, but I really wanted to sort of provide a support to you this year and to bring some knowledge as it, to your brain trust, etc. And so, I'm here, man. As in
Mhm.
business, hopefully building out a beachhead is what we call it in business, to get people to partake in this Trailblazer conference and to really take ownership of it as a life changing event. I think that's my phone, so excuse me.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's my business partner. Um, I have a background in finance. Particularly, I've studied globally. So, as you know, I've studied in Cambridge, in
Mhm.
England. I've studied at Chulalongkorn University at the Sassine School in Bangkok. So I have an MBA in international business. I have postdoctoral work at Harvard, particularly in the area of ritual and religion
Mhm.
and manipulation. Also, um, I've done some postdoctoral work in the area of brain waves and thinking and thought when it comes around wealth or money, etc. Excuse me, I don't know how to turn this off. Okay, so they're like, dude. Um, my apologies on a
No,
Saturday
no, no.
morning. I'm trying to follow up with some of my clients, but I want to honor the people that are here because he's going to keep going. Can you hear that? These
I
bells?
can.
Yeah.
That's
Sorry, people. I don't know how to turn it off. Uh, but anyway, as my background is in finance, and I have background, as you know, in music as a worship leader
Mhm.
at the same church for the past 30 years. And that's essentially it, man. I'm a father, have a son studying music out in Boston, a kid plays soccer. My wife's a principal of a school. And
Mhm.
so I'm here to provide some insight, just things that I've learned in my journey into wealth, out of wealth, around wealth,
Mhm.
money, and I have some things that work. They're guaranteed to work. I can't share everything today, but we'll definitely be going into a deep dive at the Trailblazers to really do a dissection and a forensic to really think critically about how our thoughts are governing our lives. And the life that we
Mhm.
currently have now is a direct result of our thought life and our
Mm.
decision making. And this oftentimes is not the devil. Um, it's screwdrivers are made to go for a particular screw, and a Phillip head is for a particular thing.
Right.
And if you take the screwdriver or the Phillip head and try to twist in the wrong screw, that's not the devil. That's you not understanding the tool that you have.
Ooh, can you
So
okay, wait, time out. Flag on the play. Say it again. And because I really need them to grab some of this stuff. Okay, say that. Give that analogy one more time.
so oftentimes we like to cast blame on situations,
Mhm.
and the blame is not on the situation as much it is well. First, the bigger issue is there's an illiteracy issue in the church. People don't read. So if
Yeesh.
you if you were to transfer that into another arena, you don't know the tools that you have. Therefore, you don't understand the utility. Which was my point is
Wow.
um, you have a screwdriver and you have a Phillip head and a hammer, but you're using the Phillip head screwdriver on the wrong screw, but you're blaming the devil. This is not the devil. This is because this is a literacy issue of you understanding the tools. And here's the grace of God is if he knew you before you were formed, that means he has already given you every tool that you need.
Come on.
Your issue is the misuse and mismanagement of the tool you were given. So what
Yee.
so my responsibility at Trailblazers is to evaluate the tool and say you need to drill over here. You're drilling in the wrong place. We look at God for harvest when we've actually put the seeds in the wrong place.
Oh, wow.
And so your seeds in the wrong place and you're looking from a harvest and it's like, nah, you planted that, this is not working out. And so we want to blame the enemy, and it is not the enemy. It is you not understanding the tools that you have. Use what's in your hand. Moses used what he had in his hand. Like everybody in the Bible used like literally what they had in their hand.
Right.
It's like I use bread, I use fish to multiply, I use a staff to beat Pharaoh's army. It's like it's that simple. We overcomplicate it, and we want to get very deep, and the rest of the world is actually not deep. Academicians like me, we're deep, but
Mhm.
we're paid to be deep to sort through things.
Right.
So that's my that's an overview of my background. And so, man, I'm excited to be here to really support you. And I want people that are listening to invite people to come.
Mhm.
If you don't have, in my opinion, if you're with somebody that wants to come and doesn't have the means to come, then maybe you should help them find the means to come. That's one thing. Or if you're around people asking, questioning why you're even doing it, like I would suggest you get some new people to be around. Because oftentimes, if I've been raised in church.
Yeah.
At the point that you have a money line and you're begging, you're dealing with people with impoverished mindsets anyway.
Come on.
So, like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Like, you know what I'm saying? I've gone
Mhm.
to places where they've raised $1 million just like that. Not a church. People just
Mm.
gave because they believed in what was going on. You're not, shouldn't be begging people in church. See, at the point that you're begging in church, that means the mindset of the people you're dealing with are essentially there's this barrier, and they are actually they're captives. They have been there, and what they're living in the Babylonian structure of scarcity.
Mm.
And when people are operating and thinking about scarcity, they will tend to make decisions based upon lack. But yet you're in church talking about my God's abundant. Well, somebody's lying. You know what I'm saying?
Right. This
Anyway,
is so good. This is so good. Listen, are y'all hearing and learning something already? Because he done said a lot.
right. And
Uh,
it's my and really it's something that I'm very, very deliberate and passionate about because I noticed that during COVID, when people were getting checks from the
mhm,
government,
mhm.
they were a lot happier. They were able to pursue and try new things. It's like, wow, okay, why all of a sudden you feel good because the government is giving you money? Because money answers these things.
Right.
And no matter how you want to try to negotiate within your spirit, what we do is we use the scripture to explain away our failures. No, you failed. You mismanaged. We've all did it. I just shared with the apostle, somebody, if they ask me, are you a millionaire? I said, depends on what day it is. The difference between $1 million and not is one penny. It's transactions don't solve mindset. So if I had nothing in the bank, my mindset is still based on wealth, and this is why I attract it all the time. And I've been around it all of my life.
Hmm.
It's because of the mindset.
Come on.
It's the mindset. And so we'll get into that a little bit more. I'm sorry, I'm a pause here.
No, no, this is good. This is good to me. Y'all listen. Y'all might be like, okay, well, y'all know who he is now. Um,
And let me let
and
me let me
go ahead.
cut in. And so if you were to think about what is this, what would be the prevailing scripture, um, like what is the scripture that most speaks to this? It is Paul's epistle to the Romans, Roman 12. It says, "Be not conformed, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind."
Mhm.
And we think that that's a one-time event. You have
Come on.
when you were born again, Your spirit may be born, but the way that you process and your habits are not born again. That requires discipline,
Right.
right? And so the Romans says, be not conformed, 12th chapter, I believe it is. Be
Mhm.
not, it says, be transformed. When it's the word, the word world is the Greek, we know that is where we get the word cosmo or
Mhm.
cosmopolitan.
Mhm.
The cosmo, when let's go deeper. Cosmo doesn't, it means system, right? The world system is derived from atmospheres, which is why we have spiritual hierarchy, where we wrestle not, it says spiritual wickedness in higher places, correct? So
Mhm.
think about the entire Milky Way system and solar system. Solar system. That means that there is a system that is designed, and the Bible is telling you, be not conformed to the system, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Why is the changing of the mind key to accessing this new system?
Come on.
Because the old system is designed to keep you from pursuing what God birthed you for. Because heaven is not up in the sky, heaven is here on earth, according to the, I'm in Bible now, but
Come on.
anyway,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go there, but
Yeah, it's fine. You listen, you could go
go ahead,
wherever
man.
you want to go. Listen, they with you. They like he is giving all the truth this morning. I told y'all get y'all pen and paper because he opened his mouth, it just blah 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 blah. It just come
So
out.
let me say, I'll say this while it's fresh on me.
Yeah.
The most critical stage of formation is called the theta stage.
Okay.
Okay, why is it the theta stage is where anything somebody tells you, you believe them. That's usually it's the fourth. Let me see if I remember correctly. It's usually between the age of 2 and 7, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
So within
Right.
the age of 2 and 7, children are vacillating between the imagination, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is during that time that it is very easy to manipulate. It is
Yeah.
also during that so the theta waves are the waves that are malleable. The plasticity is the new
Mm-hmm.
term that we use in science. But the theta waves is where if somebody calls you ugly, it is internalized even until adulthood, until somebody deals with it.
Come on.
If you have trauma around money at between that same theta age, that becomes your reality. You ever heard the term when you say, when somebody you're looking and saying they should know better, you're
Mm-hmm.
talking to, they don't know any better, because just because you're 40, you may be a 9-year-old emotional person, right? You can be a 15-year-old psychological person.
Mm-hmm.
You may be a 23-year-old sociological person. You may not be the whole person just because you're in a 40-year-old body.
You
So
talking
during
good.
so during the theta age is where we learn about money,
Yes.
where we learn about barriers, where we learn about who we can be. It is the stage where we're the most likely to be manipulated. And so I'm not going to say any more about that. They're going to have to come to Trailblazers to get the
Yeah.
back end of that.
Yeah, you're gonna have to come to Trailblazers for that stuff. Be in his class. Speaking of, he is going to be teaching the class called The Millionaire's Mind. Not the millionaire's mind, but the millionaire's mind, meaning you're going to be able to mine into the mind of a millionaire, where he's going to just be giving you these things and really helping you to break down and break off and break away from a lot of um this trapped thinking, if you will. um and so yeah, saving it for the breakout session. Y'all got to go to kingdomlifetrailblazers.com.
Yeah. And I will
And
be also and I will offer this um to get people to really come. I'll offer this. So I have, people want to look me up, you're fine. You can put my name, you can put my name and Spike Lee's name in the same Google search and we'll come up together. There's other people. I have a picture with somebody that I sat down with that I admire. He's worth like 36 billion with the B. If you look him up, it's Ken Griffith of Citadel. I will share things that I've gleaned from being in this business about, and my wife can tell you, we go through it on my, so I'm always straightforward and very vulnerable and transparent.
Yes.
My wife will call. I'm going to show you the millionaire's mindset. My wife will call if T-Mobile bill is it's turned off or something, right? Now, this has nothing to do with the transaction mindset. She knows that my mind is not focused on none of that. Here's why. Most of my friends have personal bookkeepers. I am the only one. I'm the outcast. I don't have, because who used to be my personal bookkeeper is now my wife. So she was my she's personal bookkeeper before. But what I'm referencing is there are things and tools that I can give you directly that I charge for, that I know as a matter of principle and fact will help you. There's a place where my wife had me start going to get our cars washed. And I met this guy, this was several years ago, guys washing cars. He says, "What do you do for a living?" I say, "Hey, I trade and manage money, blah, blah, blah." And he said, what do you recommend I do? I said, "I recommend you do step A." Says step B, go to Salvation Army and buy you a bag of used clothes to wear. You don't have to have new clothes. And I said, plus nobody's name is more important than yours to wear anyway, so it's irrelevant.
Come on.
Right. I said the third thing is borrow before you touch it. Don't touch it, create a discipline. I went to the car wash, Chris, just to get my car washed 2 weeks ago. And I said, "You got any money?" Whenever somebody says, "I got a little," that means they got. This guy just got here from Mexico. He's doing very well. Him and his brothers, they're killing it. Washing cars in a car wash.
Wow.
Yeah. By following simple tools. There's simple things you can do to modify your lifestyle.
Come on. This is good. This is good. So he's going to be, like I said, he's going to be teaching the Millionaire's Mind, which is like a wealth builder think tank, is going to be packed with this type of information. Bro, in the body of Christ, because most of the people who come to Trailblazers is going to be people churched. One of my endeavors, and I know this is your endeavor, is to get people out of church brain and into thinking kingdom. And I don't mean kingdom as this colloquial or this catchphrase that we've started. No, to really start operating in kingdom. There's a difference. And he even alluded to it earlier where he was saying, if you got to do giving lines at your church, you already are operating out of a poverty mindset. I went and I did a conference, and this particular conference that I did was for leaders and entrepreneurs and pastors and stuff, but you had to have a certain net worth just to come to the conference. That was number one. And I'm like, Lord, they got me coming in and speaking. But I did that. And one of the guys, one of the men who were there, he said to me, he said, I really appreciate what you said and everything like that. He said, because he said, wealthy people think differently. He said, we think differently. We're the ones that's in the back of the church, or because we got money, the pastor will sit us on the front of the church, wherever it is that we're sitting. We're the ones who will sit in church, and while everybody is shouting, we're the ones that's just sitting there like this. Because we're trying to find where we fit in, meaning I'm a financier. I pay for things. I invest in things. I do all of these things. So while you're saying, "Oh, God is going to heal you. God is going to heal you," I can afford a really, really good doctor. If God is going to deliver you, I have therapists and I can modify my behavior. So they think differently. And as you said, a lot of times we'll use scripture to cover up our failures, or we'll use faith to really cover up a lot of things. And so we're really trying to get people out of this churchy. I'm not saying do away with the church, but what I'm saying is there's a pathology and a mentality that if you're not careful, you'll get boxed into. And I know Micheal Drayton is coming to kind of break that box off of you, or break you out of that box to say, hey, you need to start thinking this way. And if you apply A, B, and C, you're going to see your life turn for the better. Now, look, people are like, this is good. um People like too emotional, not practical. A lot of sermons don't apply to wealthy minded individuals, and that is so true. Look, he's just shaking his head like, it is true. You said something in our preliminary conversation that I really want to discuss, because I thought it was amazing. You said dealing with this type of mentality, the only pursuit is more time, not more things. Can you talk about like that?
Yeah. So, if I were to use an example of people that I know that are around me, there's a type of person that wants to, I like nice things, but I just refuse to pay full price for things. And I've had nice things, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But what I found is people that I'm around, if they build to the point that they can afford, let's say, a Rolls Royce, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that at the point of them being able to afford the Rolls Royce, they no longer want the Rolls Royce. They're now chasing down, how do I get more time?
Come on.
Right? Because time is a proxy for dollars. And let me explain to you that. When you are going into debt, you're actually leveraging time that you don't have, because you're under the assumption that you're going to have income in the future to retire the debt you're going into today. You understand what I'm saying?
Say
And
that one more
so,
time, because I think they missed that, what you just said.
dollars are proxy for time,
Mm-hmm.
and debt is proxy for time. When
Mm-hmm.
you decide to go into debt today, what you're doing is displaying arrogance that you're going to be here in the future to have the income to resolve the debt. I'm not saying that is sin. I'm simply saying you're making a transaction based upon something that you do not have, which is the time that is in the future. What the wealthy do is the absolute reverse. They're trying to figure out, how do I buy time in the future and make it present? So what they do is they send their dollars out to buy future time into the present. So for instance, my son will go back and forth and say, we don't have this or have that. I said, do you realize your father has been able to take you and your brother and your sister to school through private schools, but I've been able to put you through school and pick you up and drop you off every day. I said, you don't see the value in that. Now, if I were to quantify the value in that in terms of dollars, that's millions of dollars. Here's why. When you work a 9 to 5, which is my wife, that's kind of what she does. When you work a 9 to 5, you have to allocate that time to the person that you've made the commitment to. When you do what I did, my time is my time. And if you want my time, you have to be placed on a contract for my time. And so what I was sharing with you earlier is the biggest difference is one is not pursuing things to look rich. They're pursuing time because that's what they hold most valuable. And so what you will find is when you're having conversations to people in the higher net worth spectrum, mm-hmm. It's very difficult to meet with them because they're fighting this dilemma of, how do I divide up my time? You know what I'm saying? And so the things are irrelevant. It's, whatever. A house is a house. Car, it doesn't matter. Those are things to enjoy, but the issue is time. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier about your utility of your time.
Hmm.
One of the things is we spend way too much time in church, way too much, because the rest of the world is transacting on the golf course on Sunday morning.
Come on.
You should go to church, but you shouldn't call it a church. It's an embassy. If you're an ambassador and you're talking about kingdom establishment, the ambassador is sent to a country with the full weight of the country that sent them. They check into the embassy for the assignment and they leave and go to the assignment. But we have some other layers of issues that has more to do with the cultural dynamics of Blackism and the Black churchism.
Mm-hmm.
God does not have a Black church.
Right.
Doesn't have a white church either. But at the 17th century, 18th century, the necessity of Black church was a form of survival, right? So now so here's my philosophy around this, and why some pastors I consult with, they love me, but they sort of have a problem with the orthodoxy. There is no way anybody's going to convince me that God has called all these people into ministry. No. Here, but not to be irrational in my thinking, because I think economics help me with this equation. It's called the law of supply and demand. God creates laws. If you defy the laws, you suffer the consequences. If you jump off of a building, you defy gravity, you're more than likely going to have a problem when you get to the bottom. So let's back up. Law of supply demand. If there's 5 churches on one block and each church is half empty or half full, that means that you don't have the demand for the space. If there was a preponderance of the demand for the space, your supply would fill up the place. So if there were 10,000 people on the block saying we want Jesus, then it would make sense to have 5 churches to accommodate that supply. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We don't have the demand, but we have a high supply of churches. When something is in high supply and little demand, we put it on sale.
Wow. Wow.
And so now so either God is lying, or let's be honest, you want a church because it's a retirement plan because you didn't properly plan, and you have the gift of charisma and you can influence people. So enjoy that and do that. Just don't say God said it. This is all I'm saying. Set up a church. I'm thinking about starting a church. Like, I don't even like people like that, but it's seriously. And I was a pastor before, but I was, I told the people, as a side note, like, I'm not beating with you during the week. If you don't get what I'm giving you on Sunday, this is not my problem. This is a discipline problem. But what I'm saying is, hear what I'm trying to say. We found ourselves within this time where we're putting the cultural pursuit of church above the kingdom understanding of what we are supposed to be doing.
Come on.
And so we have blocks and blocks and blocks of churches where people really just want to buy some real estate to pastor their kids. And so it's like, God ain't called you to do all of this, which is now the problem is, he may have called you to be a minister, but he may have not called you to be a pastor.
Right.
Because if you're a good pastor, or pastor from the Latin word pastor, or shepherd from the Latin word, if you are a good shepherd, you should smell like sheep, because the word shepherd means sheep herder.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so now you have that piece, church, and now you have the mindset of, how am I supposed to be successful in that context?
Wow.
And this is now how we connect it. Perhaps we should look at churches as being the embassy where we should get information and be pursuing what God has called us to do. Most of the stuff that we're doing it's fine. I think Paul says it's lawful, but it just may not be expedient.
Expedient, yeah.
I mean, enjoy yourself. Just don't say, like, it's God. There's some problems when you say that because it's not in complete alignment.
Come on.
One of the reasons why believers don't have an enticement for the church is they say the Bible contradicts itself. No, the Bible doesn't contradict itself.
Hmm.
It's the person that is teaching it doesn't have a full grasp on understanding text and pretext context and eisegesis and eisegesis. When you're moving away from you're moving away from the text to impose your own ideas,
Right.
and so I hope that answers a little bit of when we were discussing earlier about this idea of the church and the wealth factor when it comes to church. No, people that I know they don't go to church on Sunday, and they're believers. It's like they don't see their place in there because a lot of the frequency of the pastor, the vocal frequency, if I can put on my composer's hat, a lot of the vocal frequency that the preacher is preaching has an alignment of scarcity in it.
Wow.
And it's because of generations and generations of oppression. And so imagine being in a family through generation where your entire mindset has been endowed into scarcity and suffering and brokenness. Where does the person that is not broke go to worship? Because if it's everything you're saying is based upon brokenness, now we all have issues. This is not what I'm saying. And so I believe that all of that has a factor. All of that plays a role in the wealth factor, because I believe that everybody was born wealthy. God doesn't send you into the world. If Jeremiah is true about he knew you before he formed you, then that means that he's giving you the equipment for your assignment in the earth. You'd have to have wealth to execute that. Am I correct?
You are absolutely right.
Okay, so if that be the case, what happens is during your theta stage of formation and alpha and your brainwave formation, you are actually in an environment. If the environment doesn't encourage it, it is going to place the barriers on it and drive it out.
Wow.
Most children that are born into wealth stay wealthy because they don't know any better. That's because of the mindset and the psychology from birth.
Wow.
So there are tools we can use to break that. We can use tools to break that. It's easily breakable, but it requires discipline under the idea of what's called plasticity.
Yeah. And you're going to have to come to Trailblazers to get the tools.
Yeah, I'm not going into depth. I hope I haven't gone into a lot of depth.
No. You're good. We're pretty, believe it or not, y'all, this is kind of surface talk. It really is surface talk. So, oh, that was so good. That was so good. If y'all think that what he just said was good, I would just want y'all to put in that this is good. Just want y'all to put in this is good. All right. So you said something earlier. You said, hey, Tamika, you said something earlier. You said it before we came live, and then you also, said it while we're on this broadcast. You said, what you said before, you kind of said the same thing live, just in a different wording. Broke has nothing to do with your bank account. Broke has nothing to do with a transaction.
Right.
There's a lot of people who are like, I'm broke, I ain't got no money and everything like that. And they're just thinking about their bank account. What do you mean by broke has nothing to do with your bank account?
So let's go back. What I was referring to was mindset versus bank account. Right? Because if the bank account is at zero, the proper mindset means that would be temporary anyway. Or the wrong mindset says that that's my perpetual state. we know statistically, one of the I own, as you know, some interest in some restaurants, and one of the
Right.
reasons why I will not go into business with a NFL player or NBA player is because their name, they only have so much value until they get out of there, and then the business goes down, which has been the history. But more
Mhm.
importantly, most of these guys go broke after a few years out of the. How is it possible that you go return to being broke, right?
Mhm.
How's it, side note, ferrous oxide is pulled out of the ground. You
Yeah.
understand? It
Mhm.
is iron. It has to be refined. Its natural state is that orange stuff called rust. What keeps it from going back there? It's you have to refine it,
Mhm.
right? And then you have to galvanize it. That's what's called galvanized steel. There's a coating around it. Then we put rust proofing on it to keep it from going back to its original state. Now, ball players, problem is they're mined out of the ground. They're now given all of this stuff, and nobody galvanizes them and fortifies them. And so
Whew.
they so here's the thing. It's because the mindset, the bank account is full, but the mindset is still thinking I don't have. So they return back to that,
Wow.
right? And so um, being poor and poverty is two different things. Poverty is a mindset, being poor is temporary.
Wow.
And so the disposition of a bank account, right? There's been moments where my bank account may have been like zero negative. Who can I don't know. Like it is what it is. But it's always refilled because my mindset is not thinking about that. Most people that become wealthy, believe it or not, are not teaching. They're not, nobody's thinking about, people want to become a millionaire, but most millionaires don't think about becoming millionaires. They think about the thing that I was born to solve.
Wow.
And Simon Sinek says it, which is I love. He says, "What is your why?"
Mhm.
And you would get somebody in church or stand up and do a full thing on "I know why I was born," and they lie. They have not yet negotiated really why they were born.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, why was I? Because you know why? That changes based upon where you're out in life, based upon what you're supposed to be doing.
Come on.
And so I'm saying that to say is that um, your bank account is not a determining this idea of I'm broke. This is why people don't support Trailblazers, because if they're looking at zeros, here I'll give an example. They're
Mhm.
looking at a zero bank account and they're looking at the cost of Trailblazers. They're telling themselves it is impractical for me to support Trailblazers. Let's stop there. But if it's something else that derives higher value to them emotionally, they will find the resources to do that,
Come on. Yeah.
right? That is called poverty mindset because you're living in scarcity.
Wow.
If Here's one thing that we know for certain among people that are exceptionally wealthy and successful, they value information over anything material.
Come on.
It's a Wall Street mantra that we've had for years. The most valuable asset and commodity will always be information. When we were trading GameStop, I got ahead of everybody because of information. This AI stuff, information. I will pay $1 million for information because I know I can get $10 million from it.
Come on.
And so if it's information, you invest the time and you pay for that. Now the question is, oftentimes, is do you value the person given the information? Here's immaturity for you, Chris.
Mhm.
If I tell you, hey man, it's a check coming for $1 million, do you care what package is coming in?
No.
So what difference does it make, the package of the information
Come on.
or the package of the resource?
Whoo.
So that's a poverty mindset. That is, you don't. And then the other piece of that is we are afraid of being around people that don't think like us.
Oh, wow. You talking good now, bro.
Because if you don't want to, one of the other signs of being insecure, see, what we have a lot of in the pulpit is insecurity, which is why you have pastors rebuking musicians because they're insecure. Pastors that are mature, you don't have to rebuke a musician. There's a proper way to deal with anybody. You got people that run billion dollar companies aren't putting their employees on the spot in front of everybody. This is stupid, right?
Mhm.
But we do know that that's generally tied to insecurity, and that it often ties to illiteracy also. You-
Yeah.
You're not well read, so you have to put somebody down to empower yourself.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so, again, these are all signs of having impoverished thinking. It is not the bank account, it's the psychology, which is why if people don't have the mindset of that zeroism, that's how they're able to spring back. You've heard of many stories. One comes to mind. I love Will Smith, right?
Yep.
Huge fan of Will Smith.
Mhm.
Not the smacking Chris Rock, Will Smith. That was a
Right.
bad moment for him. But Will Smith went broke,
Yep.
bankrupt. How did he rebuild? What happened to like? Think about all of the people that went broke. What happened? It's because their minds weren't focused on the brokenness or the bank account.
Come on.
They had created an energy. It man, I wish I can. I'm not going to go into depth about some other stuff, but it is
Mhm.
amazing the power that God has given us
Yeah.
to call those things that, like, He wasn't pretending. God's not doing. There's no suggestions in the Bible. Like there's not. Well, Paul did some suggestions. I'll say that, but
Right.
when he was recommending about marriage and some other things,
Mhm.
but um, Jesus' voice is very distinct when giving. God is very clear, and these are not like if he's giving you the power to do this and that, he's not saying this is a suggestion.
Come on.
He said, no, no, no. I've given you the power to do this, and so how you know where you're supposed to be walking in, it's the thing that irritates you the most that you're designed to solve. And I'm talking about that one little thing that drives you. So my one of my passions is dealing with men, as you know,
Yep.
because I went up on the apostle one time and I said, you have too many women speakers and no men.
Sure did.
And somebody went in on me on his page,
Did.
and my wife had to step in.
Did. Yep.
But that's because one of the reasons is because, and I share this is because I didn't have the father figure, right? And God blessed to put other men there, but because of that absence, my angst is it's always like, don't talk to men like that.
Mhm.
Like don't, but what I'm doing psychologically, I'm healing myself in reverse because of not having that defender. So I become the defender,
Hmm.
right? Which is so now ideas sprung up out of that. This is not a poverty mindset, man. This is abundance.
Right.
It's finding those things and all of the other stuff that's around it, all of the peripherals that's around it.
Wow. This is good.
So I think I've talked enough, and plus we're past. You said 45 minutes.
Yeah, I did.
We got until maybe a few more minutes
We
to
got
an
we
hour.
got about 4 more.
Okay, okay.
See, wealthy people, they like time. You said this is what we do. But no, it's fine. So, um, you hit on something that I was going to talk about, which was the perception of wealth. Like when people will walk up and say, are you a millionaire? And it's like their like, what do you think a millionaire is? Is it just somebody who has $1 million?
So I wanted to hit on that. So that varies because my wife would be like, he ain't no millionaire, and then my kids would be like, well, yes, he is. So there's variations of that. I've had $1 million in the bank in a physical bank account before I met my wife,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, so that's one way to define it. But if you have $1 million in debt, then you're net zero when it comes to net worth.
Mm-hmm.
The other is, so do you have assets? I have north of maybe, people don't need to know my business. Anyway, I have a tremendous amount of assets. Some of it is you're looking at in the behind me,
Mm-hmm.
which is I collect a lot of rare bourbon, and we use that for collateral. So I collect that. I collect art, as you know. I have some
Mm-hmm.
very valuable art. I
Mm-hmm.
have collectibles are easily convertible to $1 million+ or like that, or we use
Right.
it for We can use it for collateral.
Right.
Um, and so the classic definition is you should have the equation is assets minus liability equals owner's equity, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you have your assets. If you subtract your liabilities and it still shows up with a million, somebody says, well, that person's a millionaire. But again, that's temporary, right? Because that person may have $1 million still of, even after the liabilities are out, there
Mm-hmm.
may be some other things in terms of capital tied up in businesses for whatever reason. So
Mm-hmm.
what I know is most millionaires made their money from business ownership,
Mm-hmm.
controlling their own time, and taking risk. Some calculated, some not so calculated.
Mm-hmm.
And then they invest their money properly, and I hire the proper people to manage the wealth. And so when people are saying, the interesting thing is a broke person can teach you about $1 million mindset,
Right.
the mindset. When it's almost kind of like we have panels of successful people speaking. Maybe you need to have the people up there speaking that has failed, so you'll understand also what not to do. So there's a
Mm-hmm.
broad range of how we value money, right? And so I just bought a property. I don't know if she told you, Danielle. So I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
bought it's like 4,000 square feet, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like if you guys come to town, you
Right.
have very nice houses by the lakefront and everything.
Oh, nice.
Danielle is like, oh, I don't want to be in the area, but it's up the street from the Obama Library by the museum.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I went into debt to buy it. So I have a mortgage, but I only leveraged $5,000, right? But the equity in the house is about $250,000. Well, it's
Mm-hmm.
not. I know it's about 150. So I used $5,000 to take out a mortgage, and I ended up with $150,000 of equity.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Now I can use that 150, which is what I'm going to do to 10x it and get it to 1.5 million.
Right.
And I use the money to buy time.
Mm.
That's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah. Wow.
Right. And so another equation is my wife does decent well at her job. Anybody that's hearing this, you've made at least, if you've been working for the past 10 to 15 years, you've made over $1 million.
Come on.
Unless, I mean, you're really not making any money, but think about all of the time you've worked. And if you add that up, you've made $1 million. So you made $1 million. You are a millionaire because you made $1 million. Have you made it in 1 year? That's a different question. Have you made it in a day? That's very different.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not impossible. That is not out of the land of probability. If you think about Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook,
Right.
think about Jeff Bezos and
Amazon.
Amazon. If you think about Elon Musk and Tesla, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you think about the kid that just ripped off everybody, the crypto kid,
Right.
he was a billionaire. He ripped off everybody. But watch this. All of his backers were millionaires. And the kid just filed bankruptcy. Do you think their feelings are hurt? They're going to just go on to the next project because of the mindset. I hope that answered your question.
It did.
Okay.
It did. It did. It did. It did. And that all of that kind of deals with the whole psychological disposition of wealth. The whole way we think about it. We become too emotional when it comes to wealth, and not just money wealth, but just wealth in everything. Wealth of relationships. Go ahead.
I want to make a quick point, man. I found this to be fascinating. I applied to a club, I want to say maybe 15 years ago. And the club said you need at least $10 million in assets to get in. And we have to quantify your portfolio and evaluate it. I was like, I don't have $10 million, man. I said, I'm close. And then he's like, how close? I said, well, that's relative. I wasn't close, obviously. Right. But the guy said, unfortunately, we cannot let you into the club. He said, watch this. He said, but what I will do is I will share the information with you from every session that we have. I wanted the information. The
Right.
relationship would have been a bonus. Um, I said, why 10 million? They said, because the average person that has $1 million still feels like they don't. And that's what I want to share with you is that I hustle daily because my feelings not around, I don't feel comfortable. And I thought it was just me until I found people that have quantifiable assets over $10 million, and they work like they don't have a penny because they're not comfortable. It's like they're not, and people will tell them, people looking in will say, "Oh, but you should be comfortable." And like with 10 million, I'll be doing all of this. And it's like, you don't understand until you're in it.
Right.
That's why you're making these statements, because you're technically not in that culture. So you don't understand what's going on. um, and the risk associated with taking risks like that. But I thought it was important to share that with your
Mhm.
audience, to understand that all things are really relative.
Mhm.
And then there's another school of thought. Well, I don't want to be rich, and I don't want to do all of that. And this is fine. And Trailblazers may not be for you.
Right.
It may be for your nieces and nephews. Send 10 of them and pay for them.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. Absolutely. So it's a thing here because y'all listen. As we're wrapping up, I the whole purpose of Trailblazers is not for us just to come and speak in tongues and shout and prophesy and dance and flag and mime and do all of the things, right? That's going to take place is what we do. But my thing is, when you get up off that floor, when you take off that garment, when you take off that face paint, when you get done doing all of this stuff, we got to do something.
Yeah.
There's something to be done. We can't keep going through these same cycles of scarcity and
Yeah.
poverty and all of this stuff. It doesn't make any sense for you to pay $300 for a dance garment
Yeah.
and you don't even know how to invest $300 to like he said, 10x it to where it can become 3,000, and then you keep doing that over again. You can buy all the dance garments you want if you learn how to utilize your seed that you have,
So
the
the
money
thing
that you have. Go ahead.
the thing is, I'll get on the dance, buying dance clothes, because my wife and Ricky,
Right.
they spend and I looked at Danielle and said, "There's no way I can get a return on this. Like none. Why are we spending this money? Basic, right?"
Uh-huh.
And I said, "Watch this. What about if you learn the language of the material maker that can say, I will provide this to you at no cost because of what you're doing?" That's how the mindset changes.
Right.
You're spending $300 on a garment versus getting the person that owns it, not the person that makes it that owns the material. I'm talking about the manufacturer of the material, right? Why aren't you owning the manufacturing of the material, or contacting them and saying, "Hey, I believe that I'm called to dance." People with wealth love stories of people that are passionate about doing things,
Yes.
and will pay for all of it and say, "We'll give you whatever you need as long as you're doing that thing that you said that you want to do."
Mm-hmm.
So you should not be paying for a garment in the first place. You should because if you really want to look at it from a kingdom perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we're to bring the kingdom here on earth, let the earth pay for it. Let them people that ain't a part of the kingdom pay for it.
You talking now?
But
You can move.
if
Yeah.
you don't know the language, and if they're all demonic, it's kind of like, what if you have the power that you say you have, you should be able to go into a satanic church and clear it out.
Come on.
And I know the Bible says don't be associated with unbelievers. That's not an association, right?
Right.
The dark doesn't disconnect itself from the light. Dark exists with the light, and the light just so happens to outshine it more times than not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you have to think about occupying your entire ecosystem, the entire thing. And that's the difference between somebody thinking impoverished and somebody that has the mind of abundance and plenty.
Mm-hmm. So good. This was so good, bro. I appreciate you, man.
Love you, man. And I
I
see you
love you.
all. I see everybody at Trailblazers, and I'm excited about coming. I think my son's gonna. I think Danielle's making the whole family come.
Oh.
They're saying you're sending the plane for me.
Listen, I got you. I got you. So yeah, man, it's gonna be amazing. Listen, y'all, if y'all, this should have made y'all rush to get registered. You need to. Y'all need this session. And he didn't even really talk about what he gonna be talking about at Trailblazers. We didn't get into there.
And I need to release it. I think this is, you all gonna get hit with it first, unfortunately. But I think this is my point in time to start releasing, which is why I told you about the podcast.
Yeah.
Because God has equipped me with so much. It's just man, I've just lived an incredible life, man. And this year has been a really dark place.
Mm-hmm.
And what God had to show me was, man, you got to get back to the tools I gave you to use, which is why I made the tool analogy in the first place. God is like, you're using your tools wrong that I gave you, and that's why you're feeling frustrated, because you're trying to put things that are shaped like squares into things that are shaped like circles, and you're going to be frustrated, And so anyway, and I'm praying for I want you to succeed in Angelica. I'm really more so Angelica. No, just teasing. I love me, your wife, but I think that this is a necessary thing for the kingdom of trailblazing.
Yeah.
And I don't want people to dismiss it because of familiarity. Like, we know Apostle Chris, so it's, no. Think of this as being something new and innovative, like you would whoever people admire in terms of ministry. I know people love Bishop T.D. Jakes, and these guys started the same place, man. Did some of the same thing. He was a minister of music, in fact, at his church, something like that.
Wow.
So,
wow, that's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome. Y'all listen, get to Trailblazers, kingdomlifetrailblazers.com. This is Micheal Drayton Sr.
Yeah.
He'll be here. His son will be on the drums playing.
Yeah.
And his wife will probably be running around with AA or just.
Oh, she will?
Yeah. That's what she did last year. So
she asked me today, she's like, are you gonna, I said, if Chris asked me to do music, he's getting an invoice. He already knows that. I said,
y'all listen.
I'm not there.
I know he's coming to talk about wealth and finance and stuff like that, but this is one of the most potently anointed minstrels on this planet.
Now that I think, but I used to have a problem with people saying that. I've been broken so much in my life. I think I'm qualified to have that. I've been crushed so much, bro. You have no idea. I'll tell you about it one day. It's coming out of my book called Legally Withheld.
Oh wow.
It's a deep, dark story. So I paid the price when I sit there and still be trembling when I sit and play every time. It's just crazy. Anyway.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's amazing. Like I said, he's been a minister for how many years? 20 plus years?
I've been at St. Sabina I came in like 95.
Oh wow.
Yes. So it's like 27, 28, 29, something like, yeah.
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 And I'll never forget when I went there to minister, and it's a Catholic church, y'all. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be a Catholic church. They lying to everybody. But, but the thing is, I went there to minister. I think I came to mine.
Yeah, you did.
And it was
Yeah.
bananas just being there. And when
Yeah.
it's a certain song that he sings that it takes me out every time he
Oh,
starts playing. And then it's Paul
yeah.
Wilbur.
It's
And so,
this
yeah,
is true.
I mean, it happens. And so it's
Yeah.
amazing. He's I've been in other conferences. We were in the Bahamas
Yeah.
and we were at the same conference,
I
and
remember that.
and he got frustrated with the atmosphere.
I did.
So he kicked the musician off the keyboard and got in it, and with 30 seconds flat, shifted the whole room. I said,
Yeah.
this dude here.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that. And my wife Danielle was looking like, I said, they'll be okay. Anyway, man, I got to get off of here,
Yeah,
brother.
no problem. We getting off. See, y'all, I love y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. See y'all at Trailblazers. Go to kingdomlifetrailblazers.com. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Thank you.